What's up, and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where we're bringing it back to our Quentin Tarantino marathon of films with
Pulp Fiction.
Please remember, I have not seen all of Tarantino's works. I have seen most of them, including Pulp Fiction, because it's, well, Pulp Fiction. But I'm actually pretty young to it. I've only seen it for the first time a few years ago, and when I first saw it, I wasn't a huge fan of it because it was incredibly random, and it didn't follow a very conventional approach to cinema. Yes, I knew that was kind of the point, but when it came down to movies, I wanted movies to make sense, to follow a format, for characters to actually want to do something. And Pulp Fiction, well, it wasn't really about anything. It was just a slush of random things happening all at the same time. But now that a few years have passed, I've come to completely understand, realize, and appreciate the fact that the unconventional approach to Pulp Fiction is amazing. In recent history, this is the only movie that I can think of that I've said this about, but I consider Pulp Fiction to be cinematic poetry. The way this movie is put together specifically is incredibly well done, is incredibly different. Not just with the Tarantino style of dialogue, but also with the acting, with the characters that all feel different, that all feel unique, that all feel important to the plot. Even though the plot isn't really about anything specifically, everybody definitely has a role to play in the movie. Nobody is in there for no reason at all. Not just their importance in the film, but the way that they look, the way that they talk, the things that they do in their lives made everybody stand out in this movie as fantastic. But obviously, yes, the dialogue is fantastic. It always has been, it probably always will be. If Tarantino is writing a movie, the dialogue is probably going to be insanely good. But really what it comes down to is behind the scenes. The way that this movie looks, feels, and is edited is, bar none, some of the best editing work I have ever seen, specifically because it is a movie that takes place out of order, but it's self-aware just enough so that even though it is out of order, you understand what's going on. And the scenes that are actually flashbacks complement the scenes that we've already seen before. So it knew what it was doing 100% of the time, and I feel like it was such a challenge for Tarantino to make work this well. And I know other movies like Memento take place out of order, and I like Memento as well, but it's different than this movie because this movie also feels like more of a full package. It's not just the fact that it's out of order, it's also the fact that the visuals are insane, the cinematography is really great, the music choices in the film, spectacular, the way that these people interact with each other, the acting, the characters, the casting, importance, and chemistry, like I said before in the people category, are all perfect. This movie as a whole is a whole package. There's nothing in it that stands out to me as bad. Instead, it feels more like a movie you could go on a long tangent about how great it is, how perfect it is. If I was still scoring movies like I used to, I'd probably score it 100 out of 100 possible stars, or somewhere around there, somewhere from 95 up. But because I have a breakdown spreadsheet that does go off of normally conventional movies that you see 99% of the time, Tarantino movies, especially Pulp Fiction, doesn't exactly fit that breakdown spreadsheet, so it won't exactly be a perfect score because of that. But I'm not going to create a breakdown spreadsheet specifically for Tarantino. So the negatives that I'm about to talk about are negatives because they don't fit within the confines of the conventional. And that comes down to the narrative. I'm sorry, obviously it's unconventional. The narrative shouldn't matter that much. It was never the point to matter that much. But because I do rate every movie exactly the same from a breakdown perspective, it's not perfect. So there's no inciting incident. There's nothing in the beginning that changes everything, that changes the path of our characters. There's never a no going back moment. And because of that, there's no obstacles, right? Because there's no main characters. There's nobody that you feel a connection with on an emotional level. There's no main characters. There's no protagonist that's trying to do anything specifically. And when there's no protagonist, there can't be an antagonist because an antagonist is created to be diametrically opposed to the protagonist's goal. And because of that, there's no obstacles. Nobody is trying to do anything specific unless you take a look at it like a bunch of random short films, and you can, and that is fine. You can look at the movie as a bunch of random short films with a bunch of different obstacles, goals, whatever, what have you, but that's not how I see the movie. I'm sorry, it's just not. And the resolution, the falling action, whatever, It feels fine and dandy. It's not perfect because it doesn't feel like it calms down or returns to a new sense of norm. Then again, the ending does feel like it just kind of goes into that cinematic, poetic feeling that this movie feels like from beginning to end. It just doesn't follow that conventional route to what you would normally sense from a falling action, a resolution. It just doesn't feel like that. And because of that, my rating breakdown is gonna be iffy. It's not gonna fit exactly. It's gonna be like a shoe that's too small for you. You're gonna fit most of your foot in there, but it's not gonna fit it perfectly. And nothing about my breakdown spreadsheet is ever going to fit a Tarantino film. In my head, I rated this 100%. On a technical level, I rated it 91%. 91 out of 100 possible stars. Guys, tell me what you thought of Pulp Fiction in the comments down below. And as for YouTube, make sure that you hit subscribe, like it, hit the bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace out!